Broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Welcome everyone, and thank you for attending today's webcast, AutoCAD Electrical, Working with Title Blocks. Our presenter today is Rick France. He's a solutions engineer with Hagerman and Company. We're also joined on the line by Keith Doran. He's a solutions engineer with Hagerman and Company, and he's going to be on the line to answer any questions as they come in. Before we get started, I'll let you know that you're in listening only mode. If you have questions during the presentation, you can type those into the question panel located on the right-hand side of your screen. Keith can address those as we go, and Rick will address them at the end. As we close down the session today, you'll be prompted to fill out a survey, and we ask that you take a few moments to fill that out. Additionally, all registrants will receive a follow-up email containing a link for the recording of this presentation. And with that, I'll hand things over to Rick.
Well, good morning, everyone. And this is part two of a two-part series we were doing. The first part was a few weeks ago called Working with Projects. And this is the second part, which is Working with Title Blocks. So you should now be able to see my screen. And basically, I'm in AutoCAD Electrical 2018. And a couple of things we're going to basically look at today is setting up that title block, a couple of different methods for that, and also your template. So we're going to start here with a template. I'm going to go ahead and open up a template called Vandelay Point to Point. This is a template file that at this point in time has not got anything in it to be an active AutoCAD Electrical template. So if I was to use this template in AutoCAD Electrical, it would say, hey, I don't recognize this as AutoCAD Electrical, add certain blocks to it, which we'll talk about in a minute. It also does not have the title block in it. So it is a little bit further down the road than just being a regular generic AutoCAD template, because I've already got the viewport in it, looking into paper space, things like that, and it's ready for my title block to be inserted. So we're going to start with that. I'm going to insert a title block that I have in my computer. That is just a C size title block because I already have a D and a B size set up in the project, so I chose to do a C size. So I'm just inserting it as if it's the first time coming into this template. Now, this particular title block is just generic, basic AutoCAD. It could have been created in AutoCAD LT 20 years ago. There's nothing special about it other than attributes. And that's what it needs to be an AutoCAD Electrical title block, is attributes built into it. So I'm going to open this up in AutoCAD's block editor. Close the dynamic because it doesn't need to be dynamic or anything, and kind of zoom in here. That line going through my text is only there to make it a little bit faster during the webinar for me to place a couple of attributes here. And basically, I use paper space. So I don't have to worry about annotative scale in my title block because I use paper space with a viewport, but a lot of people don't. And if you're one of those who does not use paper space and puts everything in model space, puts your title block there, what I would suggest at this point in your title block inside your template is that you come over to the properties palette and make it annotative. That way, if you change scale factors in your title block, in your drawing, the title block will adjust to that scale factor and scale for you, and won't have to scale it and things like that. So basically, when you use the scaling down here, it's going to adjust automatically just by setting this particular block to annotative. Now, the main point of being here, though, for today is to talk about the attributes. Everything in a title block that's going to work with AutoCAD Electrical has to be attributes. They do not have to be specific names or follow any kind of naming convention. They just have to have a unique tag per attribute, which is something most people do in AutoCAD anyways. So just for those people who might not know how to add an attribute into a block in AutoCAD, I want to add one. Right up here in the block editor, you want to use this icon. Looks like the little mini Perl tag up here, and you select mini Perl, which is your attribute definition. I'm going to call this attribute client because that's the key, is the tag. All attributes have to have a tag, and they need to be unique per attribute so that AutoCAD Electrical knows where to place the information. Again, the name of it doesn't matter because I got to map that still, which we'll do in a minute. Prompt, you can place it in there if you like. I usually don't put a prompt. I have in this particular title block just because it's supposed to be an older one, but I usually don't put a prompt because it's really not necessary. I'm going to set it to preset and lock position. That's just a personal preference. Preset means if I ever erase a title block and reinsert it, it won't ask me for answers to each attribute. It will just take the default value as the default, and lock position will just keep people from being able to move it by accident out of position. This is going to be a middle justification. That's the right text style. Since my title block's annotative or in paper space, I don't need the text to be annotative. And I'm going to make this one 1/8 inch high. So just your basic AutoCAD attribute, nothing special about it. We'll place it in here, and I'm going to place it right here at the end of that line right there that I'd pre-drawn for it. So basically that's all it is put, each one of these are attributes that were put in the same way. Some of them may have been copies. For instance, I could use AutoCAD's copy command, and if I have one already in here that's placed like that checked one, I can just copy it using AutoCAD's copy command and then double click it and change the tag to whatever I need it. In this case, the prompt also. So that way I got a unique one there for drawn. But I just use AutoCAD's copy command. So there's it's just getting these attributes in there. Now I like to use fields also whenever possible, especially for certain attributes. I usually use a field for the date. I also use one for the scale, and I attach the scale one to my viewport so that it controls what my scale is. A couple other ones I use with fields is I have one over here, an attribute that's set up with the drawing file name. So that's a field pulling in the drawing file name, and this one is my plot date and time. So I use fields for those functions because I like them a little bit better, even though these two can be done with AutoCAD Electrical. They only happen when you run a command, and by using a field it happens instantly, and I don't have to worry about running the update command every time after I plot or something to get those to update. But just to show you how a field works, again, I'm going to add an attribute. I'm going to call this one date. And everything else I'm going to leave the same, other than I do want it middle. Definitely don't want it annotative. This one's going to be 0.07 high for the text size. The way you add a field to an attribute is using this little button right here in the dialog box at the default. So I'll select that, and these are the different categories for fields. So you can use fields to do things such as date and time, which is the one I'm going to use, document, objects, things like that. So the scale down here uses an object. I'm actually going to do that one in a minute after we place the title block. The only one here you can't use for AutoCAD Electrical or don't need to use is the sheet set version. Sheet set manager is what that's referring to, and that is not used in AutoCAD Electrical because you've got the project manager. You can use document to get to things such as author and stuff like that. I'm going to go to date and time. I'm going to use creation date and place it there. The reason I use creation date, date would be today's date. So every day it's going to change. Plot date is going to change every time you plot your drawing. Save date, that's, by the way, plot date's the one I'm using way over there on that other one over there. Save date will change every time you hit save. Creation date is when you hit new drawing. So I'm going to use creation date, set it for this exact date format here. That's month, day, and year. Hit OK. Hit OK. I got 2 decimal points in there. Hit OK and place it here in the date location. I'm going to go ahead and erase that line that I don't need. So that's how I get the attributes in there. Once I have them in there, close the block editor, save the changes. Now, because I made a change to this title block that already exists in this drawing because I inserted it later, I have to either use attribute sync, which is great if I have more than one object in here. Since I only have the one, I'm just going to erase it and reinsert it. based on the one that's in the drawing. And now you can see the date is filled out because it's already been, the attributes are correct at this point. Now this last object here, the scale, I'm going to connect to this viewport. I could not do that when I was in the block editor because I couldn't see the viewport. But if I come in here and double click it after I've placed it and then double click the value on the scale, it recognizes it's not connected to an object. So I'm going to say objects, field names an object. Right here, I'm going to pick the object type and select the viewport itself. It recognizes the viewport now. Got all different kinds of options here I can pick. I'm going to take the standard scale option. Hit OK. Hit OK. And now whenever this viewport changes scale factors in a drawing, this attribute will update with that scale factor. So it's just another way of using those fields. I usually leave the gray on the fields, which is the default value in AutoCAD, so I can recognize those are fields when I'm looking at my drawing, although they do not print or plot. The only other things I do to get the template ready, and now that I've got my title block in here, is basically I set up my layers. If I came over here, I've got the layers already pre-set up in here to use all the different layers that come with AutoCAD Electrical. So I set them up with colors and things like that. So I got that all set up in my template. Likewise, if I have certain wires that I use, I suggest you get those into your template. You just create them. Now because, let me hit cancel here and do this. Well, do this before I show you. If I come over here to model space, to finish this out, and then I'll come back to wires. To finish this out, to make the template, you want to get 2 blocks in your template. One is called, one or the other, or both. One is called WD_M. If it's a schematic drawing, it has to have that block in it. If it's a panel drawing, it has to have the block WD_PNL, panel. And that's what makes the drawing recognize the AutoCAD Electrical. The easiest way to get in your drawing, well, you saw there, just run an AutoCAD Electrical command. So I'm on the schematic tab. I usually hit the icon menu. It recognizes that this does not have the WDM in it. I'll say OK. It places it in the drawing. I'll hit cancel. If you wanted this to be a panel drawing, go to the panel tab, hit icon menu, place the WD PNLM. Now every drawing I start with this template, I'm just canceling out the icon menu, will recognize that this is an AutoCAD Electrical drawing, and it won't ask me that question ever again. Back on the layers though, for the wires, if I hit create edit wire type, I just created my wire layers that I wanted inside this template so that it would be there for everything. So those are kind of the things that you would do to set up your template however you need to. Is get your layers, get your wires in there, get those one of those 2 blocks in there, if not both, and get your title blocks set up. Once you have that, your template's ready to go. So I'm going to save it, close it. I've already got in here a drawing that's using that C-size title block. So this was the same title block already done just like the other one. It's just already got everything in it to where I don't have to add those attributes. They were already in this drawing. But this one is ready to go. I've got a C size. I've got a B size here that I'm using for my single line diagrams. And I've got my D size. So we're going to start here on the D size. Let me close a couple of drawings. Don't need to save them. So we're going to start here. So when you're doing your title block, when you're setting it up, by the way, I could have done this too when I was in the template. Let me go back to the template and just show you one more thing while I'm thinking about it. If you don't like the organization of the attributes, like if you double click it, you see here the attributes here. There's a great little AutoCAD tool. It's my favorite name command. It's called Batman, B-A-T-T-M-A-N. And with this, you can go into your title block and rearrange attributes if you don't like the sequence area. So I could take client. These are the 3 we just added to it. Move them up to the top. move something down. I'm going to move the drawing by here right with checked by. For the fun of it, I'll just move scale down to the bottom. So you can rearrange these and get them in the sequence you want them if you don't like how they are set up. Hit OK and save your template. All right, back here. Now what I'm going to do is show you a couple of different methods for setting up your title block. The first thing though is to understand what two types of information you're going to be pulling into your title blocks. You have two types, your project information and your drawing information. Drawing information, if I go to properties on the drawing, go to drawing properties, this is drawing information. It is unique to each drawing. So each drawing can be set up completely different. This right here is your drawing descriptions. This was talked about a little bit in the first one in working with projects. Your drawing descriptions is information that's project-wide. Every drawing gets the same information. Now this works off of a file called wdtitle.wdl. You can see here out of the box, it's going to say line 1, line 2, line 3, stuff like that. Doesn't really tell you what information goes where. We're going to do this first one that we're setting up for this project as if it's on the network, same title block, all projects. This is my company title block that I use on every project for the most part. Every now and then you may have that project that uses a unique title block for that project, but that's the exception to the rule, not the norm. This is the norm default one that's on our network. So I want to set up this file that controls this description list so people know what to put where. That is, in my case, I've got it on my network drive in my support folder. And it's this one right here named default_wdtitle.wdl. Right now, if I open that up, it just says line 1 through 12. The reason it said line 1 through 12 is not because this file says line 1 through 12. That's the name of those lines. Right now, it doesn't know what to put there because they're blank, even in this file. So for instance, this is going to be my project number. Well, we'll say this one's going to be my client. This is my project information. So you just fill out the information that you want users to know where information goes. So this will be checked by, and this will be, I'm going to keep it simple, current rev, not go any further than that. Now I'm going to save this as is for now because I'm going to come right back to it here in a second. If I go back to my descriptions now in Treadstone, you can see it's reading that file, and you know where to put what information. Now it's finding that file because of the paths that I set up in working with projects in part 1. I haven't changed anything from that last one that we did. So it's finding that file. It knows to put what information to replace line 1, line 2 with. Personally, I don't like the fact that it still says line 6 and line 9 through 12. So the way you can fix that is just put a space after each one. Most books and people will tell you not to even put these in here in this file. Just put the ones you want and go with it. The thing is, if you put them in here and put that space, it looks a lot easier on the eye. So I'm going to save it, come back to description. A lot easier for you to find exactly what you want to put and where in your description list for that project. Now this information is stored in that WDP file, but this is the information that is going to be project-wide on every drawing, and you can make as many of these descriptions as you need. My title block's pretty simple, so that's all I need. We'll go ahead and say OK. So now we're at the point where we're ready to set up AutoCAD Electrical to understand what of that information, those descriptions and drawing properties are used where and with what attributes in my title block. First, let me show you something here, how AutoCAD Electrical searches for that information. There's going to be two methods when we set up the title block. One's called method 1, One's called method 2. This right here is method 2. And that's the first thing it does. It looks for an attribute named WDT_TB inside the title block. If it finds it, it processes it. If it doesn't, then it moves on and starts looking for method 1. Method 1 has basically 2 different options. And so this is looking for the first option of method 1. So this is 2. So this is the first option of method 1, which is looking for a WT file with the project name. If it doesn't find that one, then it goes to the second option, which is looking for the default WDT. If it finds that, it processes that one. If it doesn't, then you get an error message. So just to show you what we're talking about, if I ran title block update at this point on this project, when I don't have any of those methods yet set up, I'll just do it on active drawing. It went straight to the error message. So there's the error message at the end where it tells me can't find the file, can't find the attribute, doesn't know what to do. So we're going to set that up. And you do that from the project tab with title block set up right here. Now title block setup is going to show us both methods, method 1 up here and method 2 down here. Now here is my personal opinion. You can take it or leave it. I don't care what you read on books. I don't care what you see on YouTube videos. I don't care what you hear anywhere. This is a bad idea. Don't do it. Don't ever do it. It's like a virus. Once it gets in your title block, it is a pain to get out. And I've been paid a lot of money by companies to get that out of their title blocks on hundreds and thousands of drawings because they went with that method. What makes that method so bad is you have a 256 character limit with attributes. Once you hit 256 characters, you're done. You can't add another one. You can't add any more information. That's it. You're finished. It is not hard to hit that 256 character. So let me show you what I'm talking about. Right here is the out-of-the-box demo that comes from Autodesk unchanged. That's what comes from Autodesk out of the box. You can see here they've set it up using this WDT file and WDL file. That's the same method we're about to use on ours. They're using option 1 of method 1, okay? That's the way this is set up to work out of the box. Every demo that comes out of the box is set up this way. However, if I open that drawing, right here, one of those drawings for that demo, I'm going to double click on the title block. There's that attribute. It wins. Even though they're using the other method, they have a 256 character limit in their title block because of that attribute. And it's in every drawing of this project. It's in every drawing of their templates. It's in everything that you get from those demos from Autodesk, and a lot of people have it. Why is that bad? This is the one out of the box. I'm going to go to the end of the line of that attribute. All right, I'm going to start typing. I just hit 256 characters. I only added those ones right there. That's how fast I hit it. They only have about 8 or 9 attributes in this title block, but they hit that 256 character. It doesn't matter what you do to that file, that attribute wins. Why? Because the system looks for that attribute first, and if it finds it, it wins over any other method. So it's a bad, bad, bad idea, in my personal opinion, to use the method 2. I've had students that I've had in the past who ignored me, and later on they're calling us up with tech support because they're trying to fix it, and they need to add more information, and they can't because they've hit that limit. So I will shut up about that for now, and let's go on and see how you should set it up. Title block setup. Don't use method 2, use method 1. Method 1 gives us 3 basic options. These 2 are almost identical, and then you have this one. This one here is for my title block on my network that's going to be used the majority of the time in the projects. So this is the one we're going to use first. This one, these two options are for unique title blocks in those projects. I personally, the only difference between the two is the name of the file. Both are inside the project, but the file name is differently. So I usually don't use this one just because it's the same name as this one, and I don't like to be confused. I usually use this one or this one just for the simplicity of making it easier to see the difference. We're going to start with this one, our network version. Now you can see here it's finding a default WDT file inside my network location that I placed it. Just to show you, all I did was I created a file called default WDT. You open it up, it's completely empty. There's nothing in it. The only reason I did that is because if that file doesn't exist someplace for it to find, it will create it under user app data, local roaming, some really weird name, and you have to hunt it down. So then you would create it and move it to the network. So by creating that file first, I don't have to find it and move it later. And it found it right there. But it is totally empty at this point. So I hit OK after picking that option. Right now, since it found it, wants to know, do I want to override or edit? Because if I'm making some minor changes to it, edit may be all I need to do. I'm just going to say override it since it's empty anyways. At this point, I cannot use active drawing this particular time. We're going to do that in the next one because my active drawing is one of my schematics, not my title block. So I'm going to use pick block, select my title block, hit enter, and it places the name of my title block in here. Now my B-size title block happens to have the identical same attributes in it. It's just a B size. So technically, I could just type in BT block -B and do them both at the same time. But I'm going to postpone that and show you another method later. But both methods do the same thing. But comma, name of the title block. If all the attributes are named identical in both title blocks as they are in my B size and D size, I could just comma and put the other title block right there. So we're going to hit OK. And at this point, it's just simply matching the attributes that are in that title block to the values that I want. Again, you have two different types of values, project values, drawing values. So we're going to start here. This one's project number. I don't have a lot in my title block, so it doesn't take but a second. Client, well, I guess a minute. How's that? Client, project, location. You just map each attribute to what they're going to be used in the description file. So this will be current revs, that's rev. So basically it doesn't blank out these like it did in the description file itself, but you can see that it's reading that same description file I created, and I'm just mapping the ones that I had in that description file to where they're going to be in the title block. Once I've got that one done, we'll switch to drawing values. Just like that. It's the drawing values, so this is my drawing number. I'm not using file name extension here, so this and the plotting values, I did the field instead. Does the same thing, only this will the field will be instant, not only when I run the update command. Drawing description, that's my drawing title, my drawing type, my drawing description. Section's going to be area, subsection will be section. Now I did this on purpose to show you that the attribute name doesn't have to match what it's being mapped to. It can be something different. So areas being the area of the plant, section being the area that it is, or the section of the area. So that's my subsection. So that's what I'm set it up that way. I am using a location code. The sheet value is going right here, and my maximum sheets is here. You have the ability to put a previous sheet and next sheet and some other options here that you can use. But each one of these is being used in my title block down here. The only one that we didn't map yet at this point is the drawn by. Drawn by is right here. That's the one we made a copy of in that C size and everything. I haven't done anything for that. For that, I'm going to use what's called a user defined attribute variable. So if we hit user defined, I'm going to set drawn for the drawn by. I can hard code it, put somebody's initials in there, but every drawing is going to get those initials in the project. I could also use what they suggest down here, which is a list routine that's doing the get var login name. So if I typed it in just like it is there, to where it's got the open parentheses, get var login name, and it would get whatever my login name is, that's what it would put in the title block. So it'd put Rick France, since that's my login name. I'm going to do another step further. I'm going to do one I named myself. It's called drawing by in parentheses. Now what that one is I've got a little AutoCAD list routine here that's got a routine in it called drawing by. That's what I'm calling right there. It gets the login name, and it basically says if the login name is Bruce Wayne, initials are RBW. If the login name is Jack Sparrow, CJS. So it just goes through, and there's my login name with my initials. So it's just set up for the company to where it says if it's this login name, use these initials. So it's just a little routine that I wrote up for doing that. Let me close it back. I'll show you how it's loaded in a second too. I'll update the list so that it's drawn is going to be set by that routine, that list routine. I'll say okay. Once I've got this done, hit okay. It's done. It's ready for, I can now update my title blocks when I'm ready to. However, before I do that, let me show you, I did on the panel drawing itself, I have set up 4 tabs here, and I did this on purpose. So this is my normal D size one right here that's on every other drawing. Here's a B size in the same drawing on a different form on a different tab. Here's that C size one we did on another tab. And then here's a D size one, so it's that identical title block. It's just going to a PDF file instead of a printer. I did this for one reason. I've noticed when I'm doing things on the internet, most people think that you can only have one title block per drawing. And that's not true. It's one title block filled out, but I can have different title blocks of different sizes for different types of prints, all within the same drawing, and the title block update will recognize that. So that's the reason I wanted to point that out. But right now, the only one we've assigned is the T block D. So let me show you a couple of things here real quick. And let me show you this before I go any further too on the C size one. The C size one that we did, I did on purpose denum and pnum here. On all the other title blocks, the tag is drawing num, DWG num, and project num. I purposely did the C size one different because another thing that I've seen all over the internet is all title blocks have to use the same attributes, and that's just not true as long as you set it up correctly. Now, if you're using the title block setup past that first one, then yes, that's true. That's the only way you can do it. But you can work around that by opening up this default WDT file. You can have multiple title blocks this way. This is the one we just created, and we overwrote and created this one. That B size one uses all the same attributes. I simply have to say, comma, TBLK-B, because that's the name of my B size title block, and it's done and ready to go. But that C size one has different attributes for drawing number and project number. So for that one, all I have to do is copy this, come down here, we'll change this to T block -C. This should be dnum, and this one should be pnum. And if I had any others that had changed, I would just change those in this same list here. But I can't do these from the title block setup. To do something like that, you have to do it inside the file itself. But once this is done, I've got 3 different title blocks being controlled by one command in one file. And even if they're in the same file, but all of them in the project. But that's all I have to do to get those 3 title blocks set up. Now it's simply title block update. I've got everything pre-checked here ready to go. So all I got to do is project wide, do all, Okay. Notice I didn't get the message of no WDT file because it found it this time. It's going through the entire project. I happen to be on the control panel right now. We'll come back to it. Let's look at this one first. So here's my D size on sheet 1, all filled out. Here's my single line diagram, which is a B size, all filled out. Here's that point to point, which is a C size, all filled out, including having different attribute numbers for drawing number and project number, because I set it up for PNUM and DNUM. So it used 3 different title blocks, 2 of them the same attribute names, 1 of them completely different, and even within the same drawing, it still works. So let me close some stuff here and get to that sheet with the panel drawing. And here's my B size tab on the panel drawing. There's my D size tab. There's my C size tab. And here's my D size PDF. One command did them all. So a lot of things you'll read on the internet, they'll say you can't do. Yeah, you can. You just got to make sure you set up that file correctly. But that's how I would do my default one for everything. Just take a few minutes here and let me show you, because it won't take long here to show you how to do the one for a unique project. It's going to be, I've got this one client that wants me to use their title block. It's pretty simple to do. I'm going to activate Minas Tirith here, and we'll just open up the first drawing for now. So here it is. There's the title block that my client wants me to use of theirs. So I need to set it up to work with it, but I do not want it to interfere with my other one that I have set up for all the other projects that I'm working on. So for this one, I'm going to do the title block setup for that first method 1, that first option. But to show you how it works with the active drawing, what I'm going to do is just open up their title block. So they had sent me, and I put it in the project file for Minas Tirith. Right here is their title block they had sent me. So I'm just going to open it up. Again, just a regular AutoCAD title block, no fields in this one. It's all attributes. Using all different kinds of attribute names. You can see they've even got a revision title block. So since I'm not using Vault, I'm going to set this revision up to work with my description files. Show you what I mean real quick. If you looked at the description file, we'll do it this way. Well, let me show you it's there first. If you looked under here, I've got a description file for this project. Only this project sees it. If I open it up this way under descriptions, you can see it's got the information just like we set up before on the other one. I just did it in that one there for the project, for all the project information, and here's the revision information. This is revision line 1. Hit the next button here. There's revision line 2. Now this is great as long as every drawing in the project gets the same revision information, which in this case it's going to. If one drawing gets revised, they all get revised. So this works very good for that method, because I can just set it up here all the way through line 13 there. So this takes me up to line 13 here. If I go one more, now it's just reading line information because I didn't set up anything past this line. So it's going through line 84 to get all that revision information in there. So I need to set that up now for AutoCAD Electrical. So using the title block setup, I'm going to use project WDT file, and it's going to place it in the project with the same name. Again, this is the same exact thing. It just gives it the name default instead of Minas Tirith or your project name. I want to use the project name just to keep it separate in my mind, so that's why I use the top one. This is the active drawing. So I'm going to hit active drawing so it understands that the title block is the drawing I have open. That's the only difference between active drawing and pick block, is how it gets the name in there. I could literally type the name in there. We'll hit OK. I'll just do a few here because I've got one in the oven. But just like before, you set up project number, project, things like that. You also, when you're doing it this method, you have a pick method here. So I can say pick the description. That's going to be this one. Pick the city state, that's this attribute. And I could go through here and do that for all of them. Let's say revision 2, pick it. Revision 2 is right there. Revision 2 date, we'll pick it. And it takes the attribute R2D2. Pick it, takes the attribute R2B. I just caught that. I didn't even see I had a joke in there, and I've got one. All right, pick this one, and you could go through the whole thing setting this up, and it's going to create the file. But of course, I don't want you to sit here and watch me set up all these all the way through Rev 13. I'm just showing you it sets up exactly the same way we just did. Being the active file, we could do the pick. Now I've got one in the oven. I'm going to close this out. I'm going to come over here under my supplements. I've got one already completely filled out here with all that stuff already picked. So I'm just going to overwrite the one I just created so it gets the whole thing. So we'll say copy over here to this project. There's the one I just created. I'm going to just delete it and paste over it. So once I've done that, for this project, I'll use the update retag this time. Since I don't want to do the whole project of everything, I'm going to take out everything but the title block update. Setup. Here, everything's already set up for the entire project. Just hit OK, do all, OK, and it's going to update this project based on that file for this title block. So I have two different systems set up within the same environment because of the method it's looking for. When it finds that one for the project, it uses it. If it doesn't, then it looks for my default one that I have on the network. So that way, if there's one for the project, it always wins. If not, it just uses my default one, which is my title block. And that way I can control different environments and different projects. You can see here it filled out my entire title block except for drawn by, checked by, and scale. I purposely did that because I wanted to show you don't have to use the title block update command for everything in the project. You can have some stuff that's set up to be manually entered. So I've got drawn by, checked by, and scale are a manual entry for this particular project. So if I hit double click it, notice this is why I leave off the prompts. I can tell there's no prompts for all this, so don't fill it out. Let the software handle it. But I have prompts for these top three, and that's to let me know, that's just my method, this needs to be filled out. It's drawn by me, checked by Captain Jack Sparrow, and the drawing scale, just to show you different, I'm going to make it full. But here's another thing you have to remember. Don't change stuff that's not controlled manually like these three, because they will get overwritten. To show you what I mean, I'm going to go down here to the line 5, and we'll say that's Rev 4. The date is, I'm just making one up, 2918 by REF, and for the description, I'll just put in a bunch of garbage. So I've filled out that information right there manually. But watch what happens when I do a title block update again. And for this one, I'm just going to do that one sheet, the one that I'm in, so that you only see how it won't take as long. But what you'll see here is it blanked out everything I did here because I filled it out manually in here instead of in the descriptions. If I would have filled it out in the descriptions here, it would have been put it in my title block. But if you ever do anything manually, it will override them unless they're set up like these, where they're not mapped and they're set up to be done manually. So that's kind of how you can use a couple of different methods for setting up your title block. It's not that hard, but that's pretty much it. That'll set it up. And the main thing to remember is the process it's going through when it's searching, so that you understand the difference between the different files that might be involved. Just to let you know, we have some additional support offered. We have document management, system and simulation processes that you can get services from us. If there are any questions though, let's go ahead and answer those right now. So do we have any that have come in, Keith?
Just a couple, but I think they've been taken care of. Maybe your take on what the difference between a field and an attribute is?
Well, a field can be in both text or an attribute, either one. An attribute is it has to be inside of a block, first of all. So it's basically text inside of a block that can be variable. It can be written as different information. Because if you have just regular text, let me get back to my screen here. This right here, where it says drawn by, is just text. So that never changes, but this can be changed from title block to title block and set differently. So that's the difference between text and an attribute. A field can be in text. Also, there's issues if you try to put a field inside text inside of a block. So if you're going to do field in text, you wouldn't normally put it inside of a block, because sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Just depends on what the field is connected to. Most of the time it probably won't for you. So if you want field inside of a block, it needs to be inside of an attribute. But a field is just something that reaches out and pulls in different information, like right here in my title block in the other project. Let me go ahead and activate it, and we'll go here to the panel layout, for instance. So I have this field of the scale tied to, well, yeah, I didn't mean to do that. Let me lock it for a second. I have it tied to the scale of that viewport. Now, it hasn't refreshed yet since I just messed it up. But it was set, that's why it's reading the 1 to 4. So what happens is if I change this scale factor from, let's say, 1 to 4 to 1 to 8, and then I'm going to lock it at that scale factor, right here, what will happen is when I reach in, well, there you go. That field is what's pulling that scale factor from that viewport, because it's connected to the viewport. The date is just connected to, I have it connected to the date of when you hit create new drawing. So it puts that date in there and that becomes the date. So fields are pulling document information or object information into it. So you can see here it's pulling the file name. If I did a save as another file name, see right now it's E112-001. If I literally did a save as and named this one E112-01A, for instance, see, it updated that with the A instantly because of it being a field. As soon as the drawing name changed, that field updated. So that's kind of the difference. The field is inside the attribute. Is the way you're setting it up.
Sure. So in your case, you created the revision block where the information that was contained within it was updating via the descriptions, the WDL values on the file. If you had individual drawings that had unique revision blocks, meaning that each sheet in the set was not being updated simultaneously, they were not being revised simultaneously, what method would you recommend the users use in that case?
Well, the method I use, if I'm not using Vault, I would recommend Vault. That would be the ideal way to do it. But if you're not using Vault, what I do is I have a single block here and I just fill it out manually. So I'd say this is Rev 0. It's put in the date, put in the description, stuff like that. So I have it that way. And when I go up to a new revision level, I just insert a new block and fill it out. Now I hit browse. I didn't need to do that. Now I would probably do that myself with I would have it a command where I wouldn't have to hunt it down like that. And I think it's set up to where, yeah, I said I accidentally did it on 0. I would set it up to where I shouldn't have done it that way. Let me redo that. What I did was I had the insertion point already defined. I would do it that way, and I don't have the attributes currently set up to where it pulls me up that DDAC, because I did them by accident in this drawing when I wasn't thinking. I just never fixed it because I don't use it that much when I'm teaching. But I would have it set up to pull me up a dialog box when I insert it. I'd put it in that way. There's no way to do it per drawing. Either by that method is the only way, or I could have it in the title block and fill them out per drawing individually, but it's still a manual step. Vault would kind of resolve that issue for you. So I would recommend Vault as the ultimate method, but if you don't have Vault, this would be an alternative.
So if you wanted to create the WDL and the WDT files manually, meaning not using any tools within the software, you could in theory just create a text file, name the extension WDL or WDT, and place it in the root of the project folder, correct?
Correct. Although it's not a WDL file, it has to have the underscore WD title.wdl. So it's more than just WDL. If it doesn't have that underscore WD title, it will ignore it. And then it has to have the project name or say default underscore WD title. This one here, you could literally just open it up, create a new one and say line 1 equals whatever, line 2 equals. So this one you would create that way. And the WDT file, you just have to know the names of the attributes themselves and then what they reference here. And if you go to the AutoCAD Electrical's help files, it will tell you all the different names that go on the right-hand side that they have to be to make this work. So the left-hand side is whatever you name it. The right-hand side is what AutoCAD Electrical calls it.
Sure. In my experience, the one thing that I would definitely recommend as far as your attribute name definitions is don't use weird characters in those names. And the main reason for it is that when you go to that WDT file, it has to put an accent marker in front of that character, and that in turn changes essentially the functional name. So in years past, we had like drawing pound for drawing number, and when you go to the WDT file, that name doesn't match the attribute name in the file itself. So, just take those goofy names, those goofy characters, wildcard characters out of the attribute names just to save yourself some headache there.
Yeah, there's a lot of characters you can't even use in an attribute tag. Anything else?
The only question left is, do the same rules apply for AutoCAD Mechanical? And I think Rick and I can both say that the answer is no.
No, completely different beast. Same rules don't apply for AutoCAD Architecture, Plant 3D, P&ID. Each one of those pieces of software have their own mechanism for it. This is strictly AutoCAD Electrical's method. But I use the exact same title block in every program. I mean, if you take a Plant 3D class from me, it's the exact same title block here that I use in AutoCAD Electrical. I use in Plant 3D. I just have to set it up differently in Plant 3D than I do in AutoCAD Electrical.
And that is one of the nice things about AutoCAD Electrical is that at the core, even though you do have all these extra tools running on top of it, it's still just an AutoCAD block with attributes in it.
Correct. They just have special names most of the time. Any other questions?
That is it for the questions.
All right, then we will turn this back over to Ashley.
Okay, well, thanks for the presentation, Rick. This will conclude our broadcast. If you have additional questions that you think of later, you can simply reply to the confirmation or reminder email you received from GoToWebinar. We can get those to Rick to have your questions answered further. Once again, if you could take a few moments to fill out the survey, we would appreciate it. It will just pop up as we close down today. And thank you for attending the webcast. Have a great day, everybody.